You know, when you decide to try something new, like stretch yourself a little bit out of your comfort zone, like maybe you're just doing a class, you've got a new hobby, or you accepted an invitation to a social engagement that you don't really know the people, or you decide to make a YouTube video. And it seems like a good idea when you first think of it because you're going to, grow. But when the actual time for execution comes, things don't quite go as planned. First there's like this inward sort of churning, and you try to take a breath to settle yourself, but you can't really get one because your chest is like all tightened up, and fight or flight is kicked in, so your breathing is really shallow, and then you think, well, just act natural. But you're all like up in your head, so you can't. And you think, okay, maybe I'll just be a good listener. But it's kind of too late, and you feel yourself just crumpling inward and feeling sick and disintegrating into nothing. And any level of competence you had, when you were like in your living room, has mysteriously disappeared. You know those moments? Yeah. I'm Jen. This is the Daily Dysregulation. And I want to tell you today about an exercise that I actually do fairly often because it was kind of a pivotal moment in my life, and it always works for me. So, before I start, I want you to please grab yourself a piece of paper. It could be like regular copy paper will work, or just a notebook if you have something that you keep handy, or even a Post-it, frankly, for this exercise will work in a pinch. And you need a pen or pencil or crayon or whatever you have handy. And take your pen, pencil, crayon, whatever, and put a dot in the center of your page. And from that dot, I want you to draw the tightest spiral you can outward. And just keep drawing and drawing as I talk. In fact, draw through the whole entire video. You could go clockwise, counterclockwise, totally doesn't matter. Just starting from a center dot, drawing a spiral, going outward as tight as you can, not touching any of the other lines. And as you draw, just notice. Notice where your mind is at. Notice if anything changes. Notice what comes up. Just notice. So, as you're drawing, I will tell you the story of how this activity came into my life and why it's been so pivotal for me and why I still practice it to this very day. About 4 years ago, I moved to a new city, and it was the middle of COVID, and life was unbelievably stressful. And I was coping with that stress in not the world's most healthy ways. And for whatever reason, I decided I would like to stretch myself out of my comfort zone and take an art class. I don't know why, because I had never taken an art class in my whole entire life. I didn't know how to paint. I didn't know how to draw. I didn't know anything about composition or photography or, frankly, a single thing. Not even art appreciation. I didn't know anything. But I decided to take this introductory art class, and thank God the instructor was such a kind and gentle soul, and she had the foresight to realize that a class full of middle-aged ladies who had never taken an art class before were probably going to have a nervous breakdown. And that's basically what happened to me. And so she said, get yourself a piece of paper, as I've said to you, get yourself a pen. I want you to draw a dot in the center of your page and continue drawing a spiral outward from that as tight as you can without crossing any of the other lines. And just keep drawing. And she left us like that in silence for 5 minutes. Yeah. I focused in on my spiral, and I was just like flooded with the worst feelings of dread and doom and like churning stomach and like what was I thinking? What am I doing here? This was a terrible idea. I'm gonna die, right? But I drew, I kept going. I mean, I couldn't leave my seat anyway. I was paralyzed, but I did it. I sat there and I drew and I drew and I drew, and I was so grateful for this spiral, for saving my life, literally. And after 5 minutes, she said she was going to start the class, and anyone who wanted could continue doing like the new activities that she was going to do. But if you preferred, you could just sit and continue drawing your spiral until you felt comfortable. And that's what I did the whole entire class. Yeah. In fact, I can show you. This is my very first art class. So there are ways of coping. But as I said, I survived the experience, and this activity has stuck with me ever since because it really helped in the moment, and I've integrated it into lots of other art projects. I have gotten a bit better over the years. But I found there's like a real rhythm to working with line and with pattern, repeating patterns especially. The brain really likes a repeating pattern. It's soothing, and I turn back to this exercise all the time. So I think this activity works for me because it forces my brain to keep its attention just on drawing that really tight spiral, not touching the other lines, keeping my pen on the page, and just like going with the flow of it. And there's, like you build a kind of a rhythm, a beautiful rhythm to it. I can even get fascinated watching the ink come out of my pen. So it's a moment that it's an activity that grounds me in the present moment. And then my brain gets a break from churning around all the catastrophizing thoughts and like all the drama, the story about myself and my situation. And that fight or flight just naturally calms on its own in those circumstances. So I don't know. I hope you tried it. And if you did, please let me know in the comments what you think of this activity. Or if there's something that you try, I would love to know it because I want to give it a go. So definitely please share that in the comments too. And I hope you enjoyed today's activity, and I hope to see you here again soon. Thank you.